There are stages? Stage 1 is when they're nice. Stage 2 is when they wonder why you're ignoring them. Stage 3 is when they get angry.
Don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
Ah, right. I never got to stage 3 back in the day. I never felt so entitled, thankfully. That's right, folks. You're not allowed to have emotions when a woman randomly stops replying to you with no explanation. Women aren't required to live up to any social contract of friendship. You just need to understand.
Oh, here it goes.
Alright guys, so if you've been around this channel for a while, you know that I've visited the Nice Guys subreddit forum before with my good friend Zerse on a stream, and we took apart some of the posts there. The link to that will be in the description below, but today I wanted to hone in on one specific post that I just found to be absolutely ridiculous, so let's get right into it. The post on the subreddit is called No Idea Buddy, and as you can see, it's a screenshot taken from 4chan and reads as follows. How do you guys even get laid? How is it possible that I'm 28 years old and have never had sex with a woman? I'm unbearably fucking lonely, and it can't be my fucking fault. Girls are fucking retarded and always choose to date some fucking asshole loser over me. It's unfair in every fucking way. Whenever I talk to a girl, they seem repulsed by me, no matter how polite my approach is. Sometimes I'll just look at a girl, and when she notices me, she will either ignore me or look disgusted and won't even speak to me. I respect girls' personal space and dignity, and I get nothing to show for it. Yet I see men treating their women very disrespectfully and they are still with them. How do those douchebags even manage to trick a girl into a situation like that? Figure after so long, I deserve to have had at least one girlfriend. This loneliness is unbearable and completely unfair. I would have so much love, attention, and sex to give a beautiful woman if they decided to choose me over those fucking dickheads, but they don't and I'm left to rot. And then he posts his picture and says, here is a recent pic. I wouldn't say I'm even that ugly. Just a bit of acne and a little overweight. It could be my personality. Now, obviously, there are some things wrong with this post. For starters, he's saying it absolutely cannot be his fault, although later on he does acknowledge that maybe it's his looks and personality, even though he doesn't feel that he's that ugly. To be honest, it's hard to say. That photo looks like it's of poor quality, and it doesn't look like he put too much effort into sprucing himself up, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's how he walks around day to day in his daily life. He may not have worded his post in the best way, but I feel like this is just a venting post. Somebody that's very lonely and frustrated with their situation in life, and whether they are taking it out on the right people or not is debatable. But if you want something badly enough, you do have the tendency to see it all around you and feel like everybody is getting what they want except for you, and that can be very painful. Obviously, that's a very unhealthy mindset to have, but thinking clearly is not something that's easy to do when you're very unhappy. First, let's take a quick look at how Nice Guys describes themselves. For all these self-proclaimed nice guys, who are actually man-children or douches, or who mistake being spineless and pathetic for being nice. Most of the posts you will find here will feature men, but posts featuring women who fit the nice guy archetype are allowed, or gay men, or gay women, etc. Nice guyness transcends gender and sexuality. This is a light-hearted subreddit for funny, cringy images, not a subreddit for showcasing misogyny or debating gender roles. The funny thing is you'll notice is that they say nice guyness transcends gender and sexuality, yet these are the same type of people who will say things like, don't use guys to address a group of people because it doesn't acknowledge that there are women in the group. So is guys a gendered term or not? Please make up your mind. But now that we've set the stage, let's get right into the comments and see what the lovely people of Reddit have to say about this. People, I know it is an extremely difficult concept, but if you aren't as good looking as the person you're pursuing, you don't deserve them just because you want them. You damn well better have something to offer in return if you're being that shallow. So let me get this straight. It's okay for the person being pursued to be shallow, but it's not okay for the pursuer? How does that make any sense? Either being shallow is okay, or it isn't okay. Besides, attractiveness is subjective, and some people have a different idea of what is beautiful and don't put too much stock into levels of attractiveness. Besides, saying that someone isn't attractive enough for someone else based on their looks is, by your own definition, shallow. I would have so much love, attention, and sex to give a beautiful woman. Well, there's your problem. Another case of calling women shallow while only interested in tens. I mean, granted you can't exactly change your face, but you'd think someone so lonely and desperate for a woman would hit the gym, lose weight, dress nicely, buy Clearasil, and just maybe get a shower a few times a week instead of being a big grease monger. I have friends like this and can never understand why they think they're owed a sexy girlfriend when they've put zero effort in to improve themselves. Well, hey there, Kojak. You sure are extrapolating a lot from that post. You have absolutely no idea what this guy's day-to-day life is like because he didn't say anything about it within his post. He didn't touch upon his interests. He didn't touch upon what things he's doing to improve himself or not doing. I would also like to point out that these last two comments have taken it upon themselves to impose their own standard of beauty upon this individual. Nowhere in this post did he give any indication of what he considers beautiful, so for you to say he's only chasing tens, as you put it, is incorrect and an assumption based on what you consider beautiful. We don't know what this man finds attractive. He just didn't say. This is my problem with nice guys, especially once they hit about 30 years old like this one. By that age, a good portion of people are ready to start looking for a more serious relationship. Looks aren't going to be as important, so long as you take good care of your health and hygiene, have a steady job, and are at least a somewhat decent person, you'll be able to attract somebody. By that time, most people stop being as shallow as they were earlier in life. Instead, he's stuck in the mentality of a 16-year-old boy even though he's almost twice that age. He's right in saying that he isn't bad looking, he's pretty average, which is where most people sit, and he could improve that with a little weight loss and better skincare. If he didn't think about relationships in such a selfish way, and picked up a good hobby or two, physical and or intellectual, he'd probably be able to get a girlfriend. Alright, so a lot of these posts have touched upon his hygiene, even though we only have one photo to go by, but we're just going to pretend that yes, his hygiene is actually poor. I'd like to take a moment to point out that a lack of personal hygiene can be tied to severe depression. And it would not be too surprising for someone with very low self-esteem who is insecure to be depressed and feel bad about themselves and their situation and get to a point where they just don't feel like putting the effort in anymore. I'm not saying that's an excuse, but it does happen and it takes time to get back out of that. As for saying that he's still stuck in a teenage mindset when it comes to relationships, once again, I think that's a bit of a stretch. However, given the fact that he says he has absolutely no relationship experience, it's understandable that his mindset in regards to relationships hasn't been able to grow past that. And finally, we have the whole, oh, if he picked up a good physical and or intellectual hobby, he'd be able to get a girlfriend. Well, first of all, you don't have any idea what his hobbies are, and I really don't know what people consider an intellectual hobby, but it sounds pretentious as all fuck and extremely stupid. Take up a hobby because you enjoy it, not to impress other people. Seriously. I never thought I was owed a sexy girlfriend, but I had a big perspective shift a while back when I realized that if I was a girl, I probably wouldn't have wanted to date me. I didn't have that much to offer. I was rather boring, pretty socially awkward. Since then, I've lost a bunch of weight, started exercising regularly, got into some hobbies besides reading and video games, and learned to be more comfortable in social situations. Basically, I've actually put effort into improving myself and having something to bring to the table. And I've just recently started a relationship with an amazing woman. Funny how that worked out. Again, here they are trying to define sexy for someone. You know, I really have to appreciate how it's totally acceptable to tell a man to change himself so that a woman will want him, but it's a crime against humanity to expect a woman to change in any way for a man. Then it's always, you're beautiful and perfect just the way you are. Don't let him change you. How do you define something to offer? As in my view, that will be different depending on who you ask. If you're just going for the societal standard of something to offer, if you ask me, that's typical and boring. There's nothing wrong with reading and video games as a hobby. There are plenty of women who enjoy those hobbies as well. Of course, there is something to be said for self-improvement. However, you shouldn't have to dramatically transform the core of your being if you're a decent person, and throw away your true interests just to impress someone else. I had a chubby friend in my circle of friends. Typical nice guy, but he was super social and funny, life of the party type, but just scared to death of women and sex even though it's all he talked about. There was a girl in our group who was seriously fine as hell, and she had a huge crush on him and we all saw it. He wouldn't pull the trigger and just avoided it. There's a lot of girls he could have dated along the way. Plenty. Later, turns out he didn't like her because she wasn't a virgin. She had been with 2 guys, and she was 23 at the time. He said he wasn't a virgin, but we all knew he was. But he was always bitching about jerks getting the girls, and nice guys finish last bullshit. Nice guy logic. Now, this comment completely ignores the fact that men are often made fun of when they say that they're a virgin, so it may have appeared that he was being hypocritical by wanting to be with a girl that was a virgin, but if he himself was a virgin and you knew that for a fact, then underneath the lie, there is no hypocrisy. There are a few reasons why he might have preferred to be with a virgin. If he was shy, it might be because he felt inferior and inexperienced. It's also possible that since he was actually a virgin, that he wanted to be with someone else who was experiencing their first time. It's actually not an unreasonable desire, even though the so-called hookup culture of today has made it into some sort of evil idea. And remember, as someone earlier in the comments said, it's okay to expect something as long as it's something that you yourself are bringing to the table. Some of the problems the guy in the original post is facing are probably due to aspects of himself that he needs to improve. That being said, there are a lot of shallow people out there with shallow ideals, and some of those people are women, so I don't find it at all surprising that a guy that doesn't fit into the stereotypical idea of an attractive male has had a tough time in his personal life. This subreddit basically acts as though it is never okay to criticize female behavior towards men, and that every single man who speaks out is entitled. People, including men, need a place to vent their emotions sometimes. Everybody does. If you mock each and every person who feels this way whenever they decide to share their emotions, you just end up with more Elliot Rodgers type guys who lose their minds because they feel they have nowhere else to turn after being constantly ridiculed. This is clearly someone who is in pain, and it amazes me how there isn't even the slightest bit of empathy displayed. People claim feminism will allow men to express their emotions, but apparently those emotions must be deemed acceptable by them first. They complain nonstop about male entitlement, but some of these women want respect for the most trivial of things. That's how you end up with stupidity like free the nipple actually becoming legitimate. The double standards are piled higher than Tokyo Tower, and it really needs to stop. The Nice Guys subreddit is basically just a place where Reddit users can come along and feel superior to people who are already down in the dumps, and quite frankly, I find them to be a bunch of pathetic hypocrites that use Olympic gold medal caliber mental gymnastics to justify why each and every guy they put on display is somehow terrible, and the woman is always right. Remember, people, gender does not dictate innocence. I'm the only one.